What's up, guys? We got a nice, let me turn this camera around so y'all can see what we're working with today. We got a nice floor repair today. Got the tent set up because it is hot here in South Florida. Working on a Road Warrior. Let me show you what we got. Basically, here's what happened. Normally, there's a couch that sits on this wall. Customer was getting ready for a trip. They put some pool noodles behind the couch. They wanted to move them, so they had to move the couch out of the way to get the pool noodles. And when they moved the couch out of the way, the customer walked over here and put his foot down. And his foot basically went through the floor. So they took it upon themselves to go ahead and cut the linoleum. They followed grout lines, but my suggestion is if you're going to do this yourself, stay on the perimeter. Stay on the perimeter. Cut one big piece, that way you peel it up in one sheet. When you lay it back down, now you don't have all these individual cut lines that we're going to have to try to seam back together best we can, especially if they're going to be underneath the slide out. You don't need anything catching. But essentially what we're going to do today is we're going to finish cutting this linoleum all the way to the corner, perimeter cut it. We're going to cut underneath the slide out. We're going to peel this linoleum back. We're going to get rid of all the rotten wood that's underneath, new insulation, new framing, put new decking, seam the linoleum back together, and get them back up and running for their trip. So that's what we're doing today. Alright, I'm mic'd up, so I gotta remember not to talk about anybody. We're good to go. I say first things first, we'll probably pull up the section they already cut off and get it out of the way just so we can see the damage, and then we'll finish perimeter cutting here. I don't know how far we need to go under the slide out, but you can just kind of see, because I mean this is hard, but right there it's still soft, so how far we need to go that way, and then we'll reframe all of it. So that's the game plan. If you guys do decide to cut your own linoleum, it's always best to try to tape it back down. Otherwise, what's going to happen is these edges are going to want to curl up, especially if it's from water damage, which is going to make it that much harder for us to glue it back down. So after doing some digging the first time that I came out, on the outside of this wall, there's a beltline trim, and there was some gaps in the sealant. And when you pulled the trim off the wall, you could see at one point when they were building this that they used a screw to tack up the skirt metal. That's not normally how you tack it up, and then they ended up pulling the screw out to put the molding back on, but they left the screw hole open. So the gap in the sealant on top of the molding was going down and just going in that screw hole. So it wasn't a major leak, but it's definitely something that was happening over time. So we got a nice little hole there. This stuff just crumbled. I mean, it's just as brittle as can be. So a lot of times when we get in here for water damage, it looks more like that. It looks more black, it looks more wet. This stuff is dry. It's dry and it's brittle. So it's definitely just a slow leak that dries up, gets wet again, dries up, gets wet again, dries up, and eventually it just turned it into nothing. So that's what we're dealing with today. So luckily, no mold. So my thought was pull the trim off so we can just get as far back as we can with cutting linoleum. Here's the first sponsorship request. Diablo, hit us up. We use your product, doing this, cutting floors all the time. It's great. Use it. I recommend Diablo. Lasts forever. Don't go online and buy that 300-piece set for $45, because those are basically one-use things. If you're using it like this, if you're using it for at home and little projects, go for it. But if you're doing actual work, you gotta go with the quality stuff. So, Diablo. Happy for a sponsor. Look at that. show you guys a little something about how we go about doing this. So essentially, we're going to be cutting out that damaged section and a little bit past. So that's why we're pulling up more linoleum. So this needs to be replaced, and it starts to get pretty good about right here. Everything's pretty solid, which is good for us because as we look, we can see the original construction to give us a little bit of x-ray vision. So right there, right there, right there, right there, right there, these are screws from the manufacturer telling us that most likely right under that area, running the length, is some framing. So framing is what's important when we're doing these. I can see that framing there. Once we pull all that up, we're able to see all that framing. But if we can go ahead and plan that we're going to cut out this section all the way to this framing, we can make ourselves a nice straight line sitting alongside that. We can run a new piece of framing right next to it. That way when we scab in a new piece of subfloor, it's going to be completely supported around the entire side as well as in the middle. So a lot of times when we do floor repairs in a heavily walked on section, we have to focus pretty heavy on how we seam it together as far as wood filler, sanding it. That way you can't feel the transition with your feet. Something that we always focus on, but being that this is going to be underneath a couch and it is never going to be stepped on, it's definitely not something that the customer's worried about at all. So we're kind of keeping that in mind, but either way, we have to use somewhat x-ray vision to plan out how we're going to do it so we know where to cut. We're going to have to cut a little bit of some puzzle pieces. So we're going to have a skinny piece here, a little bit of a stair step to go around the slide out, and then a larger piece here. But if we can cut this out in nice straight lines, nice square pieces, it makes things easy to measure out, trace out, and cut new pieces. We got all the decking up, so everything that you're seeing now is just framing. So pretty much anything that's left is good. We're keeping it. We are having to replace somewhat of this main beam here because of just how black it is. This is what was in here, and we got that pulled out. It's the back side of it. So our leak was definitely coming from this belt line somewhere over in the corner, just being that that was the worst spot. But the way we're gonna do it, we got some stair step cuts. We'll clean this up real good, let it dry for several hours, any last little bit of moisture that's on top of it. Clean it up, put a new board here. We can screw it to the fresh piece that's gonna be out there, and then stair step our way back in, and then we're gonna add an additional support beam in here as well. There's a cross member on this side that we pulled out, so we're gonna add a new one there. And then on the edges where we're gonna put our new subfloor, we're gonna add some cross members there as well. But that's kind of our little update video of where we're at so far and the mess that happens with water. So call us for your preventative maintenance. Let us seal your RV so that you don't have to deal with this. Here's a little update on the framing. We got one little piece to do left. But just for extra stability and strength, we liquid nailed each board together as we screwed it. Like I said, we stair-stepped all the cuts. That way we could screw into existing as well as screwing into new. So essentially it's rebuilding it. And then we went ahead and added just one extra link. All of these screws that were used were 3.5 inches, so we're not only going into the next board, we're going into the one after that as well. The reason we're somewhat over-engineering and framing this corner is just because of the slide-out that's here. It's going to be a couch that covers 90% of this, but being that this is the corner where a slide-out is, it's just more potential of a weak point, so that's kind of why we're over-framing it. Not necessarily to withstand weight of people walking and stuff like that. So what Matt's doing is he's adding some extra stringers to an edge that did not have any framing. So we're adding a little lip for it to sit on, for it to go underneath. It helps keep these boards nice and flush when we screw them down. Otherwise, you step on that one spot and the boards are going to sit there and separate like that. So that prevents that from happening. Other than that, we're pretty much done with that. We got to throw some insulation down. Once we do some insulation, it's the fun part of measuring and configuring out how we're going to cut this piece that fits here, stair steps this way. But for the most part, I think we planned it out smart enough to make it easy for us. So that's our update. And that's that. Now we just got to clean up our mess and we're good to go. Peace.